And then I see these events that get put on in Europe or in India and Africa, and I see the number of attendees. And I'm blown away.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Summer of Atlassian 4.0. Today I have Andy Gladstone, one of the greatest community champions that we have in the Atlassian ecosystem. Andy, welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex. That's a really nice introduction. I don't think that it's necessarily true, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
I almost called you Father Jira, but I wasn't sure if that was insensitive or not. You definitely are one of the mentors and one of the people. I know I mentioned this last year, right? But definitely one of the people I look up to, and I think one of them. I don't want to say gatekeeper, but definitely you set the tone and the bar for what it means to be a quality champion.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Alex. I put a lot of love and effort into it, so a lot of heart and soul into the community, and it's nice to see that it's recognized.
And it looks like you got rebranded as well, like all of us, right? You're now the online forums community champion.
That's correct. I'm not sure if the online has to go there anymore because forums is sort of redundant. But because I went from online Andy to the forums community champion, I felt I would leave the online in there, so that way nobody confused me with Andy Barker. Fun with Andy.
Hi, I quickly wanted to interrupt your video to let you know about something big that I've been working on. I'm working on the Big Book of Atlassian, and this is going to be given exclusively away to attendees that show up to the Atlassian Builder Summit happening October 22nd through the 24th in Long Beach, California. This is a completely free event, a completely free book that you can only get if you come to our in-person event. This is something that's super awesome. I am really happy to be putting this together. You can only get this in person. So make sure that you attend our very free event. All you need to worry about is your travel accommodations. We do have discounts for hotels. Use that link down below. Sign up for the Atlassian Builders Conference, and I hope to see you in October. And come secure your free copy of the Big Book of Atlassian. I'll see you in October.
Yeah, no, Fun Man, he's hard to confuse with. He's we were in San Francisco like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, dude, are you like not afraid? We're walking down the streets of San Francisco like at 10 p.m. And he's like, Alex, I'm like 6'5", 250 pounds. I don't know who would want to mess with me.
He's definitely someone you want to be around if a fight starts, because he's got the longest reach.
You know, right? Yeah. Or the longest legs to get out of there quickly.
I was very jealous of that. I saw the pictures and the coverage of that event at the San Francisco office, and it's a little bit tough to get from New York to San Francisco just for a one-night event. I was out there last year when the San Francisco chapter team, the Bay Area, I should say, chapter team, put on their post Team 24 conference, and it was phenomenal. I actually spent 3 days in San Francisco, but I was there primarily because of that. And they had great attendance. Like, the crowd was great. People are really engaged there. So it's nice when you get to see the live community, like the people from seeing them in the online community, and then you get to see them at an event and get to interact with them, or actually the Atlassians themselves that work out of those offices.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite parts as well. I get a lot of pleasure in seeing like I'm blinking on his name, and I should not be blinking on my own sponsors' names. Bjorn from Resolution. Just seeing them, because like in Europe, they go to a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more ACEs that happen within the partners over there.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's two areas that I'm not. So I am obviously an online champion or forums champion, and not a events champion. That being said, I'm pretty active in the New York chapter. So we have 4 amazing leaders in the New York chapter, who 2 of them have won the Leader of the Year award for different reasons. Leader's Choice Award 2 years ago for Kapil, and 4 years ago, Dilip, I think, won the Chapter of the Year. They do great programming. We put on about 8 to 12 events a year. But I see, I know what they go through to get people, to get butts and seats, right? And I know that it's much harder in the post-COVID world to get people to come out to events when people just became so used to being at home, or they're working from home, so they're not traveling to the city anymore. And then I see these events that get put on in Europe or in India and Africa, and I see the number of attendees, and I'm blown away. And I definitely think that as a United States citizen, one of the things that we lose out on is the travel infrastructure. Like, if we had the train infrastructure that people had in Europe, people would be on trains a lot more often to go places.
Right.
But I see people from Glasgow going to events in Amsterdam and going to events in France. Like, you get on Eurostar and you spend the day and you do your work and you're at an event and you go home and you're able to do it. You don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to leave a large carbon footprint. You don't have to leave your family. And getting on planes now is just
it's a thing. Like, you gotta think about it.
It's a day. You got to be there at least an hour before boarding and to make sure you get through all of the different security lines. And I'm TSA pre, and I used to have global entry, but I let that expire during COVID just because I hadn't been traveling as much. I don't travel that much outside of the continental US anyway, for business at least. So I didn't need it. But the TSA lines are sometimes longer than normal lines now. Like, everybody has it. It used to be something like, it was like a members only group, and it became a members everybody group. So
Yeah, as long as what is it, $80 for 5 years or something like that? Or at least it was at one point.
yeah, I think it was $99 to renew for 5 years. I think when I originally got it back in 2013, it was $85 or $70.
Yeah, I remember it was in the 80s when I was looking at it, but I don't travel enough. I usually fly out of John Wayne, and there's like 3 people ever in that airport.
So I similarly, in my previous position before I was at Solo, I've been with my current company for almost 9 years now, but my previous company that I was at with 10 and a half years prior, we were a New York-based company that was acquired by a company based out of Santa Barbara. I used to have to fly into Santa Barbara Airport. There are only 5 airports that actually fly in and out of Santa Barbara. It was as small as my office is. And I used to love, like, you could just walk in and just, like, you did everything yourself. You put your bags in, like, nobody checked anything. There was no bureaucry in the check-in. You could get there 6 minutes before the flight and you were fine. Going to JFK or LaGuardia here in New York, if you even try that, you're not even getting on the next flight. You're waiting 2 more flights.
Yeah, you'll be lucky if you get out that day out of New York. Yeah, I've heard stories. I've seen enough Casey Neistat videos to know how LaGuardia and JFK go.
Yeah, he's good. He's good at covering the airport experience. He is.
Yeah. I'm deathly afraid of LAX, so I actively avoid LAX like the plague. But the LAX owns all the regional airports around Southern California. So like Ontario, Long Beach, John Wayne, Burbank. It's owned and governed by LAX, so they intentionally like cut the price of LAX. It's like usually like 50% off if you fly out of LAX, like in and out of LAX versus like John Wayne. But half the time I'm like, do I really want to go deal with LA traffic? Yeah. That's usually enough for me to not go all the way to LAX.
People are going to think that the Atlassian online forums are all about travel now. It's about trains, planes.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's about community, right? And it's the community is where you take the community, and sometimes it involves going places to be with that community. So yeah, I would say there's a little travel involved there.
And I mean, again, these are connections that we make. I mean, the way that you and I met, the way that I've met so many people from the community. You and I really met. I didn't know you before I met you in person, which is generally the opposite of most of the community connections I have. Like, I've got to know their online persona through the forums or through the community champion Slack channels, and then you finally meet. You're like, it's like in long lost friends, someone you went to high school with. That you just,
yeah,
like, it's so nice to catch up. The way we met was a little bit more serendipitous. I didn't know who you are. I live in the Confluence world. You live in the Jira world, right? So I shouldn't say never the twain shall meet, but I'm heavily involved in one product or one app, I should say. And then we met, and that was a little over 3 years ago now, which is a little hard to believe. And look at this. Like, now I spend every Thursday afternoon with you. You, Rodney, Bob, Sarah now. Sometimes Valerie. I think I'm probably one of the only people that could say that I have either watched or listened to every episode.
Every episode. That, and I think Mike apparently says he watches every one too. So.
I mean, he's got that long drive, right? Because he lives out really in the boondocks there. So when he's got to go to the office in Sydney, it's great. I mean, listen, every Thursday afternoon, you guys are my companions on the train, as you know. You see me there and heard about it. I always get upset when I have to do a transfer and I forget to log in, and like I log in 15 minutes late, and then I have to catch up in the comments in the YouTube feed. And then if I miss one, if it's like a Jewish holiday and I can't be on, or if there's just other things going on in life and I can't be on, like last week actually here in New York, the community marketing team had their offsite here in New York City, and they invited a couple of New York City champions out to drinks afterwards. So I was on a bike riding into New York City to go meet them during the show. I listened in, but I couldn't like really participate. So
Right.
I'm on a bike. I want to pay attention to not getting hit by cars in New York City.
I've also seen enough Casey Neistat videos too.
About that too, right? Yeah. So yeah, so
I've never been to New York City. San Francisco scares me so much that I think it's ruined New York City for me without even trying it.
I think you're scared of San Francisco for different reasons than you'd be scared of New York City.
So?
But yeah, you have to be aware of your surroundings and make sure you don't want to stick out like the tourist, right? And be taken advantage of.
Yeah, we went. I don't know if I've ever shared this story with you, but Sean and I last February in 2024, we went to San Francisco to an ACE. And we both happened to land at the same time. And we were kind of doing like a West Coast tour. Like he was with me for a couple of days. And so we go up there and we take the BART in. And this is my favorite part about San Francisco, is you can land at SFO, get the BART right from SFO and land like 2 minutes from the Atlassian office, right? It's like the BART drops you off real close to the Atlassian office. And so we get down but we were trying to find our hotel, and we actually, by just pure luck, happened to be in the same hotel as well.
Okay.
And we're walking down the street and we're trying to figure out where this hotel is, and we're lost with all the high-rise buildings because they all look the same, right? At least to a person who's the highest building in Anaheim is like, I don't know, 6 stories. These 100-story ones are very overwhelming. But anyway, so Sean's like on his phone, he's just looking at his phone, and he lets go of his suitcases. And there's like people all around us. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm looking for the map to figure out how to get to the hotel. I was like, your bag, you just leave it unattended. And he's like, so? I'm like, anybody can walk away with it. I'm like hyper paranoid.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're a good dad. So you make sure, like you protect your kids. I've had the opportunity to meet your children twice. So, you just want to make sure you take care of the things that are important to you. Right?
Yeah, no. So, but yeah, no, San Francisco, again, it's a city, but I love how easy I can get in and out. I don't usually have to venture too far. Although I'm kind of sad, they opened up a Nintendo store recently, and I know there's one in New York that you guys have had for a while, but San Francisco just got one. So I'm like, I might have to go create another, like ask the ACE people to make one so I can justify going back.
Well, I was actually thinking about you because, you became sort of because team got moved to your backyard, you became sort of the unofficial travel guide of the Anaheim environs, and leading up to team in the Champions Slack channel, as well as different posts on LinkedIn that you were putting in. You're giving people advice on how to beat the lines at Disney, and what the must do's are, what the things you could skip are. Make sure that you bring. You can't bring food in, but you can get food here. And I've been thinking about you because now that Universal just opened this new property in Florida.
Oh yeah,
Nintendo World and Harry Potter World, and
How to Train Your Dragon.
Alex is going to be looking for an excuse to get to an Orlando ACE sometime soon.
So believe it or not, I've never been to Orlando. I've been to Florida, but I've never been to Orlando, and it saddens me because I've never been to Disney World. As much as I love Disney, I've never been to Disney World, and so that definitely needs to be on my radar very, very soon. But let me give you a little bit of like insight on that whole thing. So Atlassian moves to Anaheim. Awesome. I get to walk there. Right. and everything was fine and dandy. I wasn't planning on being like too heavily involved until I think it was Valerie. She says, hey, I'm thinking of getting an Airbnb. And like red flashing lights went off in my mind. I'm like, wait, Airbnbs are not on property. They're not close to the Disneyland Resort. Usually they're far. And so immediately I was like, I have to create this like map, this safety map, because the areas around Anaheim are rough. Like they're rough. Right. And so I'm like, I have to at least warn people, like, there's specific areas you want to stay away from, like actively. Right. And so that was the first involvement. And then it kind of led to like, there was like a Disney Slack channel where we were talking like Disney strategies, and then Daryl and I, we kept going at it. Daryl Lee, like I would say something, and Daryl's like, technically that's wrong, and I'm like, technically you're wrong.
Well, once you get Daryl started, that's it. The man has so much energy, and apparently he's able to pull 5 seconds out of every 1 second, because I just don't know
Oh
how.
my gosh.
I can only imagine what it must be like sitting next to Daryl when he's typing on a keyboard. Like, he probably destroys keyboards, because that man gets epic posts out in no time, and like, I can't think as fast as he must type.
They're not, and they're not even surface either. They're deep, like they're thought out. Like they're not like this, like put it together, ChatGPT workshop type of thing. Like no, this is like in depth. Here's facts. Here's research. Here's pictures from 10 years ago. Like
Yeah,
he's
you
got to go
think
dig
he's
data.
like you think that he's like an OG champion, but he's not. He's only been in the champions community, I think, now 4 years. I think he just recently had his 4-year anniversary. I have to look. He put a post on about it. I remember him posting his pin. I can't remember if it was a 3 or a 4. I'm pretty sure it was a 4, because I think he was in the former leaders program, current champions program, before I was, and I'm in my 3rd year now.
Okay.
Years 3 and 4. So
You would think that you're a lot more involved, or a lot longer involved in there as well.
yeah, I have a overbearing personality, and I throw myself into things really quickly, and so it makes it seem like I've been there a long time, but I'm really not been there long. I try to make sure that I catch myself up on things, so I don't want to participate in conversations until I feel that I have something valuable to add, and if I don't know the context or the previous history, so then it makes it sound like I was there when it happened. I just happen to have read about it or know about it, but I wasn't there.
So I wanted to get your perspective, because a lot of the people that I've spoken with were at team, but you're one of the few people that weren't at team. So what was that like for you this year? Because I know last year you made it, right? But you just had to leave early.
Last year I made it 1 day late, because past the first day, like Community Champions Day, which last year was on the last day of Passover. I flew in the next morning, so I got there like during the keynote, not the opening keynote from the night before, but the actual
The ones that, the real one that
the real product keynote. So, I mean, last year I was on the plane and I'm streaming the keynotes as they're talking to, what was her name?
Dr. Feifei Lee, or
no, Feifei was later. It was she was
last year. Who did they talk
yeah,
to?
not CrowdStrike. I can't remember the name of the company. It definitely wasn't CrowdStrike, because that just not. But one of the internet identity provider companies that was a startup that used Atlassian, and
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm watching, and then like I'm getting off the plane in Vegas, and I'm getting into an Uber, and like I'm just streaming it on my phone. And as I walk in to register, so first of all, obviously most people had already registered because the keynote was ongoing. So I'm like watching it as I walk in. I'm like trying to stay alive, and so that was a little bit rough, because for me, I come to these events for the community, and I missed out on the community part. Again, nothing. I held no ill will towards Atlassian. I am a minority of a minority of a minority within the community in terms of like scheduling. And then this year, obviously, the scheduling was not the same. It was the week before Passover, and the week before Passover in Orthodox Jewish home is like extremely intense time period, cleaning and getting ready for the holiday. And I just would not leave my wife and children alone for that, even though my wife, to her credit, said like months before, she's like, listen, as long as we get X, Y, and Z done the week before, which we could have gotten done. She's like, I have no problem with you flying out on Sunday afternoon and getting there Sunday evening and spending the week there. Just, don't stay till Thursday. If you come, take the red eye back Wednesday night. Like, we had looked at it, and I considered it. And as things got closer, I just said, like, I have to know where my priorities are. Like, the community is extremely important to me. The community is, I don't want to say filled a void, but has filled an area in my life that I think was lacking before I joined the community, certainly as a community champion. And that's why I want to be there for it. But it's not to create a void in my family life, right? It's there to maybe fill a void that existed previously in terms of like professional satisfaction.
That's why you got to do what I do, and I bring the family with me to the community.
Yeah. So the last 2 years, you did every family there. Obviously, this year they literally were like there because it was just a 3-mile commute for you.
Well, they stayed at the hotel with me, right? So they were, and Anaheim, unlike Vegas, is way more family friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And because in Vegas, you can't, like in that expo area, like if you didn't have a badge, you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And in Anaheim, it was literally, you couldn't get into the expo hall, but you could be outside, and there was a lot happening outside, especially since the event happened in 3 buildings. So there was a lot of going back and forth between buildings. But even in the main expo building, you could be in the hallway because the securities were really at the door to the expo and to the rooms, but not to the physical building. So my family was roaming around everywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, similar to when we were in Vegas, right? And you were streaming outside in the
Yeah, but we had to beg a security guard to let them through there.
yeah, and then this year obviously so I didn't go. What I discovered about not going is that this is the first one I haven't been to since COVID. So I really wasn't super involved in the community before COVID. So the fact that you have obviously canceled Summit in 21 and 20 and 21, and then relaunched in 22. So I've been in 22, 23, 24, missed this year. One of the things I discovered is that Atlassian has to up their game on the virtual event. There was a lot. The platform itself is wonky that they use. You have to log in literally every time you go. It logs you out after like 5 minutes. It's just if you want to go in and watch a couple of different pre-recorded sessions and have to keep logging yourself in and out. And it wasn't using the same tokenization as your Atlassian community login.
Right.
Like it was. They need to figure out a way to fix that platform. And then in terms of like what they're providing live coverage on versus pre-recorded versus like having to wait till it's been recorded in a session and then put up, they lose the momentum. They need to have more content available during team for people that can't be there but want to experience the live content, so that to figure out which sessions are going to be the ones, whether they're like only main stage sessions or which not all the main stage sessions were broadcast live.
Right.
Or if they know that like I'm sure they have a way of scoring prior that they know that Alex's talk is going to get 150 people, right? They already know if people are using the app what they're at least favoriting or adding to their calendars. They should have a way of saying, okay, this is going to be a popular session. People are going to want to be there. We want our virtual community to be brought in. Now, I'm not saying that it should be done in a way that creates a live event experience where then the presenters have to deal with like people that are interacting from outside. Like it could be on YouTube, it could stream. It could be a reactive participation. Doesn't have to be an active participation, but they have to provide more programming. And then what happens is, and I've noticed this in the past when I've tried to go back, they take a while to get some of that content that does get recorded up. And by the time it's up, it's like it's stale. I don't want to say stale. Like you've lost the momentum. You didn't strike while the anvil was hot. I could use a ton of different idioms for it, right? They've got to, again, it's a huge event. I'm just giving advice. I'm not criticizing. But they have to figure out a way to keep the audience engaged, because that 14-day to 20-day period that it takes to get it up, I guarantee that the viewership goes down as a result. People have to move on in life, and you can't Team 2025 Anaheim is not going to last you until Team 25 Europe.
Right.
There's a finite amount of time to catch the audience and get them there, and to make them feel part of it. Otherwise, it's just looking for content for informational purposes as opposed to participation purposes.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's got to be, and that's kind of why on the Jira Life we do those live streams during the show, because we got recorded content, which you probably saw, right? We did a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
Atlassian was very generous with us this year. They actually lined them up for us. I
have to say that there were two bright spots. So let me just say this now. I know this is not a Jira Life conversation. This is Ape Tech.
That's fine. The two are so blurred.
For me, the one thing that Atlassian absolutely nailed was having Mark and Sven act as the hosts for the virtual event.
That's what I was going to ask you, how that experience was.
That part was phenomenal. They did a couple pre-recorded things, but then they did a lot of like reactions to the sessions, and they were on, and the stream was live, and I saw the rig that they were walking around with. Right?
Yeah,
that was serious hardware.
I was competing with them with my rig. I don't know if you saw any pictures of my rig.
I did see a picture of your rig, because I saw pictures that were taken while you were at, I don't know if it was the Revise booth, the Resolution booth, or maybe the Dizer booth, and like you could see it in the background, like it was from behind. I'm like, that was a serious upgrade from Team 24.
We've upgraded already for Team 26.
So that was one real bright spot. Mark and Sven did a phenomenal job, and I reached out to Mark to let him know, like, it really did bring the audience that was outside the expo in, and it was great. And like they happen to be, that's their like their why is that, like, when you want to know what Mark and Sven's why, like it's to get people involved no matter where you are. So like the whole idea of Atlassian speaking about asynchronous work and asynchronous communication and being able to actually provide an experience for people asynchronously was great. Like you didn't have to physically be there to participate. That was one. And then two is, I mean, yeah, you guys killed it on content, I have to say. The amount of like the weeks after team ended, well, during team A, obviously I got the live streams. So I was on the live streams. I was listening if I was traveling, because some of them were like you were 3 hours behind. Some of them took place while I was doing my commute home. I was listening into those live streams. But then the content that you got with the different interviews with the different product managers, marketing managers, people from the team, and obviously the piece de resistance was the MCD interview. I watched all of it, and I have to say it was well done content, well thought out, and I also like the fact that I know that you've expanded the group. Obviously, Rodney couldn't be there because of his
surgery,
the well-being, and thank God his health is on the up and up, and we hope to see him there next year. But Valerie and Sarah and yourself and Bob did a phenomenal job of just getting things in, and you guys went well beyond the Jira life, because you were talking to people about Loom, you're talking to people about Rovo, you're talking to people about Trello, right?
Yeah, we got everybody.
I mean, I felt like the pain the existential pain you must have had. Like, how are we really going to put Trello content on the channel? Like
you know what? No, it's not even like that. But Ronnie and I, and we'll bring it up a little later today, but Ronnie and I had to make a call when we were building the Jira Life, and that was my biggest concern. I told him, Ronnie, because the Jira Life felt right. It felt like in our pit, it felt good. But then I told him, will that not alienate us to just Jira? And he's like, nah, we'll be fine. We could do it all. So,
and also like the direction that now what is an actual chosen direction and path that Atlassian is taking with Trello and Jira, and trying to create personal productivity versus professional productivity, and say these are two streams, and yet I know team managed projects, right, versus company managed projects, right? So you want your team managed project, go to Trello. That's what that's there for, right? And I think that most of the people do use both tools, and most people use those tools in that way. And I've always used Trello. Basically, our organization Jira for all, right? That's our confluence of Jira for all. Trello for those who want it, but Trello is mainly for personal productivity. I mean, obviously professional productivity goes into it, but we don't use it to manage projects internally, right? We're using Jira for our projects. We're using Jira for product development, all of that, bugs, work, right? Work items. But Trello is there for hey, I've got a project coming up that I've got to complete. I need a checklist. I need to have a way of sharing where I'm at with people without having to go create a project in Jira for it, right? So just create a board, make it simple. It's Kanban, do it. This is what needs to be done. This is what's in progress, and this is what's done, right? You want to see what's happening, go to the board. So I think that it absolutely makes sense. I don't think you've lost any viewership because of it. You've probably gained viewership because it's more inclusive. But the one thing that I want to mention is, and this is bringing you back to community, is one of the things I was really jealous of was the barbecue at your house. I mean, to me, that coming together of partners, champions, and just people, members in the ecosystem. Not everybody there was a community champion. Not everybody there was a marketplace partner. Not everybody there was an Atlassian solution partner. There were people who were just active in the
Atlassian
community,
space,
whether it's the event space or the online space, that were there. And to me, that's really symbolic of what the community is. You had this the day before, everyone actually had to be there when there was actual programming from Atlassian. A couple people in the community decided to put programming together that was engaging. You had Ed Gale with the barbecue. I mean, I saw the prep videos, right? And I think that really is a statement and testament to what this community is in terms of the diversity of the people that were there. You had people from Europe, you had people from Asia, people from North America, South America, that were there just to be together. Not because there was no swag being given away, as far as I know. Everyone was there.
We had stickers. There were some stickers, but yeah.
Everyone was there just for the people, and to me, that's what's the backbone of the community is the people, and that's as I was saying last week. So the community marketing team had their offsite here in New York City, and I was talking to Darlene Augustine, who is on top of like that. I'm not sure what her official title is. I apologize for not having it, but in the upper echelons of the community management. And I said is that this community differs from other communities, professional communities I've been in. I'm not gonna say names; it's not important to like point out the differences. But like, it was built by people for people. It wasn't built for a product. It wasn't built for sales. Like, obviously, it's generating revenue or it's preserving revenue, and that's why they keep going and invest so heavily into it. But it's not a sales funnel for them. Like, I have never once had, with the exception of when I opt into something which is generally not from the community. It's like you go to a LinkedIn webinar from Atlassian and they say, "Can we send you email? We share your information with partners." Then you get information. I've never had a solicitation that came about because of my community participation ever. Like, and I think that gives people a feeling of like belonging and sense of like, I can go here and be safe and I don't have to deal with, like, on LinkedIn today. I like LinkedIn. It's a great platform. I'm not going to bashing it, but the number of like just in-mails you get and people reaching out like, "Oh, I see you're in the same space. I'd like to sell you XYZ or provide service or product." Like, I get it. Like, people have to make a living and have to sell, but I don't want to be bombarded. And the one place I know I'm never going to be bombarded is in the Atlassian community, unless I choose to opt into something where there is an offer to participate. Right? It's an offer to participate and opt in. It's not like having to opt out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that barbecue. I love how you put it, because to me, first of all, it was one of the most stressful things we put on together. Running on very little sleep, because the night before, I mean, we started that brisket at about 10, 11 in the morning on Saturday, and we finished at 10 a.m. and on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we cooked through the whole night, and like Bob and I and my wife, we kept waking up to make sure the house wasn't on fire, things outside weren't on fire. That, and we had a very strong smell of barbecue in the house that made it almost impossible to sleep. And you couldn't open windows or anything because there was so much smoke outside from the smoker. So very interesting night, nonetheless. And then leaving, right? Because one of the bigger problems that my wife and I had was we cooked it at my house, but the barbecue was at my mom's house, because my house is 25 miles away from the convention center, but my mom's is only 3. And I knew when we were trying to figure out, like, should I do it at my house or my mom's house, the Uber was the big factor, right? Because even though I'm only 25 miles on a Saturday afternoon, it's like an hour drive.
Right. Also, you probably have a lot more Ubers coming from the convention area, and when people wanted to go back, I've been to conferences where I was in a conference in Fox Harbor, Nova Scotia. And Fox Harbor, Nova Scotia is in the Canadian Maritimes, and it is gorgeous. I mean, this place, it's a PGA level golf course and it's a beautiful, beautiful facility. It is 2.5 hours from the Halifax airport. And there is no reason to be there except for being at this resort. And I went there. I took an Uber from the airport. And I never thought to myself, how am I going to get back? And like, they were like having, "Oh, if you want to sign up for the shuttle back." I'm like, "I don't need a shuttle. I'm going to get Uber." And then I woke up the last morning. I'm like, holy cow. Nobody lives here. There is nobody within like 20 miles there's certainly no Uber drivers. Like, there's barely any people. And that's always the issue, right? It's like, you can get people there, but how do you get people back? I mean, if you had enough drinking, you could have gotten a party bus and sent everybody.
Yeah, no. So that was one of the calls that we made. My mom's house is a lot smaller, but I think everybody kind of enjoyed it because my mom's house is also more cultural to my Hispanic culture, right? So you walked in and it felt a lot more like a Mexican household.
Well, so then next year, that's why I have to set up the taqueria there, right? So
yeah, we're doing the tacos. Also, I don't know, did you get the dates for next year already?
Yes, I did, and I was very excited because it was clear of any holidays on the Jewish calendar, and I am ready to roll. And I still have my bike rides built out on Strava, so I definitely plan on doing it. And the funny thing is that one of the founders of Zwift is an online cycling platform. He actually lives in the area there because he was always doing these rides from like Huntington Beach up into the mountains by your house. And I'm like, just following him. I'm like, this is great. Like, I know that these are safe roads. You go along the Santa Ana River there.
Yeah, Santa Ana, yeah.
And then up into the mountains. So I'm excited to bring my bike. I'm excited to.
I can walk to the foothill or to the riverbed of the Santa Ana from my house. That's how close I live. Well, my parents' house is probably like a half a mile. It's a drive to the riverbed, but I could probably walk there. I'm very close. It's funny because I can actually walk the Santa Ana River for 20 miles and get to my mom's house.
Has anybody ever told you that your microphone looks like R2D2?
No, but it's so the microphone. It's kind of hard, but
Yeah,
I had an over the head microphone, right?
yeah.
That kind of came over, but it was a black arm. But then I got tired because it was always in the way, and it was very inconvenient. And I always had it away, and then I was like, so that one I only came out when I recorded videos. So then I had a smaller microphone that was on the desk, but then the cable gets in the way of typing. So typing with the cable, and it was always a thing. And so I got a low profile arm that like kind of fits snugly underneath the monitor. Problem is the black one was like $150 and the white one was like 80.
You know why?
Yeah, so I was like, well, I'm not gonna spend double for this thing. So I got a white arm, and I'm like, so then I tell my wife, I'm like, well, I can't get a black microphone now.
I would have some. I would literally take that to somebody that's like a good artist and say, like, can you just paint the R2D2 stripes on it? Because it looks like it's got the arms,
Yeah.
everything. So, I mean, as a Star Wars geek, that that makes me happy.
Speaking of which, I wanted to share a story with you because very similar to the barbecue community story. To me, I've been to Disneyland well into the 200 range of times, right? I've gone with all kinds of family. I've gone with my high school classmates. I mean, my entire life I've been at the park because I live 3 miles away, right? And let me tell you what a magical and special experience it was to go with the Atlassian community. My wife actually got mad at me. She got very, very upset with me when I told her. I was like, because we went back to Disneyland like a week after Teams, and like it didn't feel right. And she's like, "What do you mean it doesn't feel right?" I'm like, "You're here with your family." I'm like, "I know." I'm. She's like, "You're not appreciating your family." I'm like, "It's not that I don't appreciate my family because I love going to Disneyland with my kids and my wife, but to bring we're in a bus with like 100 people, probably 60 people that were in this bus, right? To guide them through the security and kind of because I go through security every time, right? And to guide them and give them the tips. I'm like, here's how you can expedite this process because there's 60 of us. And then the photographer was with us the whole time. And so I was kind of coaching him and guiding him and making sure that the whole group, and I was giving everybody instructions on like, go wait over here. Here's a good area. And then getting everybody through the gates. We took a group picture in front of the Mickey Mouse right there when you enter, guiding everybody through Main Street, pausing for a parade. And then I think you'll like this, Andy. Ariel from Spain. He's one of the champions. He was sharing with me when we were at, I think it was still within the conference. He was just sharing with me that he had a picture of his dad in the 70s on Main Street, right? And he's like, I want to take that picture again, like with me this time, right? And so we're walking 60 people. We pause in the middle of Main Street, take his picture, reenact this picture for his dad, right? And then take everybody into the park and like take pictures in front of the Millennium Falcon and hang out. And then I got to take all the folks from Spain and I basically gave them a Disney tour in Spanish. The whole thing was in Spanish. Poor Sarah, right, was the only one that didn't speak Spanish in the group. but to share those memories and like take them and give them the behind the scenes and all the shortcuts and like spend time where I think I'm in my element is at Disneyland. Like that's my happy place. Like that was to me the best part of team for me.
Yeah, and from what I heard from many of the community champions, the experience just of being able to be there together in the park was really like, I think is a once in a lifetime event because I do believe they're not going to be able to pull it off again next year.
You don't think so? I'm hoping.
I think they're already conditioning like the community champions to know like next year we're thinking there's going to be some changes to the programming. Like, I think it's a balance. Again, this is all just conjecture. I think there's a balance between like people were maybe a little bit upset about like that in the past the community champions dinner was like a little bit higher class, nicer, and this year they had it. Obviously, budget's only stretched so far, and if your budget is to bring 200 people to Disneyland, you might then also be eating fast food for the rest of the week, right? So we'll see where it lands. But
Here's my guess. So Team 23 bash party was in the keynote area, right? Great
23
food.
was also.
Yeah, Team 25 was, but Team 24 was at the Win in the really, really nice area of like, very, very, very exclusive, nice area of the Win. And so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Disney that Atlassian goes and grabs like Cars Land. There's like a special events area to do it at Disneyland. Like they have to. I don't know that you can't have a bash and not do it at Disneyland at least once.
I heard, but I did hear nice reviews of Bash and like the band that they had this year.
It was great. It was great because it wasn't overpowering. It wasn't overwhelming. I think other years, like it's such a loud thing. It's just unenjoyable. And
I
this
never
is kind
go
of
to Bash. Because I usually fly out on the red eye Thursday night, and so I'm usually heading out to the airport. Like that's how we met, right?
Yeah.
I usually head out to the airport like around the time that Bash was starting. Last year, like you said, I did go to Bash because it was at the Win. It was right there, and I didn't have my bike with me, so I didn't have to worry about getting there early enough to check that in the cabanas. And that was a nice experience because it gave you like a sense of like just you could have like 6 or 7 people just chilling without being overwhelmed by the large crowd, right? And the noise, like you said. So
yeah, no, but I mean I liked it. So this year it was fun. The rock concert it was really a rock concert. So it was like to me it was better than because I'm not much of a dancer.
mm-hmm.
And so I like that I was able to participate this year. Other years I just stay away from that whole scene. But it was great to be there with Bob and Sarah and Valerie and myself, just the 4 of us just hanging out for 2-3 hours, rocking out. It was a nice little closure to a very, 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 very long week. Especially after
you certainly need the vacation from the vacation. I think the team.
Are you kidding me? After Bash, we went to Disneyland on Friday for the whole day. Again. For another 12 hours.
Do you know what like your max time at Disney within a 7-day period is? Like how many different times you've walked in the front entrance?
Not consecutively. I think this is a record, not for me, but for my wife and kids. We went on Friday before teams, met up with Fabrice and met up with Sean Doyle, who were at Disney for this. They came on Friday, so I hung out with them for a little bit before team. And then Saturday was the barbecue. Sorry. Saturday was barbecue prep. Sunday was the barbecue. Monday night, my family was at Disney, and we all went with the community leaders. Tuesday, my wife and kids went. Wednesday, my wife and kids went. Thursday, I joined them in between Bash and the end of team for an hour. And then on Friday, we went the whole day. So, but my family went 5 straight consecutive days because they were at the hotel and it was walking distance.
It's hard. I mean, I'm not a theme parks person. I'm not a rides person, to be honest. I should say I'm not a theme parks person. I enjoy the theme parks. I enjoy like the experience. I'm not really into rides, right? So, and as a result of that, my children aren't really into rides because my wife and I were both like not roller coaster people, and so we take the kids to like the kiddie parks, but not like anything big. I just can't. It's hard for me to wrap my head around like how you could go to the same place so often and still enjoy it, and it's not like eating the same meal every day for
because it's such a different experience. So Friday I was hanging out with Sean and his daughter Mindy, and so we waited in line for 2 hours for Space Mountain. Turns out they had fast passes the whole time. And then I was with my cousin, and so my cousin and my son were hanging out with Sean, and so there was a unique interaction then. Monday, I'm with all the community leaders, right? But my sister-in-law joined us, my wife and kids joined us. So at one point, we were getting like 16, 20 people on rides together. We got to do a walk-off. So with the Spanish people, it was amazing, an amazing opportunity where Rise of the Resistance broke down on us while we're on it. So they're like, is this normal? I'm like, this is the best thing that could have happened to you at Disneyland. Like getting walked off the ride is such a rare and unique experience to see like the behind the scenes of the ride when it's stopped. Right. So that was unique. The Friday, we were so tired. Sean and I went and sat on a bench
Go
for, like,
walk all day. Just
for
walk.
3 hours. We just sat on a bench. Also, to Sean's defense, he kind of cracked 2 ribs as well.
Oh God, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he after the Fun Man's party, he had a little slip up and broke 2 ribs.
Hopefully not as a result of Fun Man's party, just like
No, I witnessed. He only had like 1 or 2 beers. But anyway, so he was in pain, and so we sat there, and then Mark Cruz joined us, and so I got to hang out with Mark Cruz for an hour and just see Mark in a state of zero energy. Like all of the Mark Cruthiness had been depleted. And I think I probably had the most authentic and honest conversation with Mark Cruz I've ever had in my life.
So I miss one of the things that I always looked forward to at Team when it was in the Venetian in Las Vegas was Mark would park himself in that Starbucks that you walk past on the way to the expo hall, and like he would be there from early in the morning doing work, and Mark has like this second screen that he extends off of his laptop. He has a whole setup, and like he had like his corner, like where he was parked. And, like Sven would come in and work with him there, and like people every morning I would get a Starbucks on the way in. Sometimes I'd pick up for other people, like Brittany I was picking up for because she was running somewhere, or, late, or she was running late, or she was already in the expo hall.
Oh, she was out there running because she actually went for a run before Team. I'm like, well, you're crazy. We're going to do 20,000 steps today.
Yeah. And he would always be there, and you could just strike up a conversation with him, and like he's a busy man. And I mean, I've had the fortunate opportunity to cross this path many times, not just at Team, but at like New York City events. We did an event together. Well, actually, we did an event together. When Brittany published her book, she did an event in the North Virginia chapter in Arlington, and we all went down there and marked.
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's again, it's like it's these people that you just. The community has created connections with people whose paths I would have never crossed in like the flow of my life in any other way. Jimmy Seddon lives in Ontario, and what would the two of us where would the two of us ever meet in person, or get the opportunity? Brittany.
Not only that, but I think on your side it's a little bit different too than from my perspective, because you guys answer questions in the forum and it's so text based, right? And with at least what we do on the Jira Life, we have that interaction with that peanut gallery. And so we have regulars like yourself, Ronnie and I, what we're going to do in like 10 minutes is our ACP study sessions. And we have folks that are learning with us that are in every session, and they're interacting with us. They learn the little quirks of Rodney and I, right? They because we're sharing personal stories, we're sharing anecdotes and stuff like that. But when we meet in person, it's like they've known us for years. Even for folks that are not champions, right? Just members of Atlassian's community.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's one of the reasons why when people use AI to answer questions in community forums, why those who are highly participatory, it's not just champions, because there's a lot of people who answer a lot of questions who are not necessarily champions, they're just members of the community, get so upset about it, because when you use an AI to write the answer, none of that personality comes through in the writing. It's not about stealing the answer. It's more about like the whole idea here is that the effort you put in, it creates the connection. And when you're just going to throw a question into a Claude
tool and get the answer out,
you get the answer that way, and then just cut and paste it in. Like you've provided nothing but a transaction. And I look at the community as a place where we provide service and not transactions. There's a big difference between those.
It's probably why you like the Jira duties then.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Even though I only answered 2 or 3 questions over an hour.
Yeah, but again, that was it was rough, but to see the thought process that someone who's not used to answering questions in the forums goes through to like think about, okay, what's the best way to do this and get it there, and then you have like superstars like Trudy and Bill Shaboy and Brandt and like people who just
Mr. Funk, man, oh my gosh, was Mr. Funk in full presence at Team 25? Have you ever met John Funk?
Sure. John was, so I have an interesting story about how I met John. So John wrote a book on Jira work management 4 years ago. And he had reached out to me in the community. We didn't really know each other. He was looking for people to get preview copies of it to, it was already published, but you know how it works. You
kind of like what you did with that.
You want to
book,
get people to start putting reviews on different
Yeah.
sites, Amazon, other areas, right? But you need them to read it. But you want an authentic review. You don't want just like send somebody like
ChatGPT
exactly
generated review.
ChatGPT review. So I got into it, and I had actually on that I think it was that trip to Fox Harbor. Might not have been that trip. A different trip. We have an office in Montreal, so I go up to Canada basically twice a year. And it was one of my trips to Canada. I just took the book with me, and I spent 7 hours straight just reading through, Jira Work Management. And to me, it was new because I had never I used Jira Service Desk, and I had used Jira, just Jira. But Jira Work Management was not a product or a platform or an application I had used before. So I went through it all, and then I wrote a review, and then he and I chatted a bit in the community leaders chat and Slack and via LinkedIn. And then when I met him for the first time, it was at the social event that used to take place like right the night before the community leaders program day. And I just was like a fanboy already. Like I had seen his name and face in the community so many times. He's one of the few community members who's achieved level 10, which is a big, takes a lot of effort to do that. It takes a lot of answering of questions and answering questions correctly because you need the answers to be accepted. It's not just enough to put the answer in, but people have to accept it. That's one of the things I try and get members of the community to do is like, if the answer helped you, you should accept it. Because then again, it's no longer just transactional. Come in, ask a question, get an answer, leave. Like, leave a comment, leave the feedback, make sure you accept the answer. And John got there, and like so to me, he is what a champion of the community really is. I mean, him and many other people, right? I don't want to exclude anybody, but John's definitely there. And yeah, and I mean, him being back stateside, I think helped with the experience. Like 2 years ago, he was coming in from Dubai, right? So it's a different trip when you're flying internationally to get there, and
I think he's
body's out of whack
or something like that. Yeah, it's the first time I met him, and very similar to you, I was like in awe just the whole time with him. He carries his like presence that I think is hard to describe.
Gentle giant.
That would be 2 words that I would put to describe it.
You meet him, he looks like this imposing figure. Like Andy, right? If him and Andy were walking down the street together, you may go to the other side. You may cross the street. But so gentle, so caring, so empathetic. And again, that's exactly what the tone of the community is. That's what the people are supposed to be, and that's why I believe that I've being in the community for the last, hyperactive last 4.5 years, somewhat active last 5.5 years. The people who stick around are the people that have those qualities, and the people that are in and out are the ones that just don't like. If you don't get it, if you don't fit, it's not about anybody forcing anybody out. But if you don't have that ethos and that,
you kind of show your way out.
you basically you wind up opting out because you're not, people that are there just to stir the pot or to be critical. It's not Reddit. If you want to go and rant about something like against people, again, you have people who rant like Daryl, right? And he's like good, rants that are based on thought and, being considerate in the rant. But then you have you have these threads that just get taken over. That very, very rarely happens within the community. Yeah, there are certain things that happen. Atlassian has done a bad job of, communicating. Everyone's done a bad job of communicating. Like I've made decisions in my life. My family haven't communicated well. I've made professional decisions I haven't communicated well. But in general, 99.9% of the interaction is honest, it's authentic, it's caring, it's empathetic. And that's why people feel comfortable to come and be there. And that's why it's so fulfilling for the community champions to be part of it, because, who you want to feel like you're a part of building something that you feel has impact and meaning. And because of the people that are there, you get that feedback. That you're doing something that is valuable and that is helping people, and that, obviously there's some swag involved and people get excited about it, but it's, you get past the quick kudos and the quick swag, and the people who are there are really just people that want to give. And it's interesting just to see the personalities. These are people who raise money for various charitable organizations. These are people who are putting out their time in their communities, volunteering in other areas. It's not, they're full-time. Most of us are gainfully employed full-time, most of us have families. There's some of a younger crowd or people who don't have a family yet, but like we have other places to be, but we elect to be here as well and make it part of it. And I think that shows. It's not.
Yeah, but I will tell you on that note, though, that the Atlassian community is expanding from a very personal perspective. So this year, Daryl Lee brought his mom and his wife to team. They were both in there. Matt Dorr brought his wife. My wife and kids were out there. And so you're starting to see a much more personable side to our champion's life as well.
Yeah, and
I really like to.
And that's it. And that's the human connection. That's why we're talking, why we had a time to talk today, is because we made a human connection where, we don't have to spend an hour together on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. We do, we talk, we chat. You and, by the way, Lena has been, I reached out to her. Her LinkedIn content has been fantastic. I know she was like a couple weeks ago, really started to work on it. You get to see the people, you get to understand the personalities, and you get to appreciate it. And I appreciate Atlassian for giving us this platform, for giving us the ability to share our knowledge, and giving us each the status that we get among each other. It's not something it's not being done for resume building. It's being done because people have an altruistic intent here, and that's the best part of the community. And I appreciate everything that you have put into it and your family has put into it, and that the team that you've surrounded yourself with put into it. And, we should continue to have success mutually, individually as well, but mutually as a community and a group. And listen, there's a lot. Like I said, last week I was out with that community marketing team. Like, this team has not stopped pushing trying to raise the bar. And there is even more stuff coming out that's going to benefit more members of the community, that's going to create more inclusivity, that's going to allow us to be able to express our individual talents in a way that help each other. And it's just an exciting place to be.
Yeah. And on that note, I don't know that I can end it any better. So thank you, Andy, for
thank you, Alex. I appreciate the time.
I will tell you, it's humbling to be in that Vegas little breakout area in between Bash and me chasing MCB and Anu to sit down for an hour and a half with Mike and talk to him.
There's a timeline you should publish there. This is what I look like in May of 2023, and look what's happening in when we get to April of 2025.
That's crazy.
But again, you've put in the effort and you've earned it, and so I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the team, and hopefully each of you could spend a little less time on the day job trying to make the money and a little bit more time.
I quit everything. My day job is this. This is my job now.
Well, I've got a full-time job. I'm
gonna let you get back to that one. So again, thank you, Andy, so much for being here. Make sure you guys subscribe and drop a like, and make sure you follow Andy on LinkedIn and check out his community posts whenever he puts them up. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, everybody.